Welcome to the Scene Podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scene Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Borak, joined by my wonderful friend, my producer, my editor, KJ. KJ, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing so good, Justin. We've got a really important episode today. I'm really excited to get into it.
Amazing, buddy. So happy to have you here. It is June. June, if you did not know, is National Gun Violence Awareness Month, and we thought there was no one better to bring on the show than Michael Cotey, the founder, curator, the creator of Enough Plays to End Gun Violence. They just released their third collection of plays. He does this amazing thing where he takes all these teenagers and they write plays. It's a really, really, really cool concept. It's an amazing, amazing community, an amazing process, an amazing organization that we were so happy to chat about on the show. So we cannot wait for you guys to hear our conversation with Michael Cotey. And yeah, please enjoy the show. KJ, let's get to the next segment.
Shows you should know.
All right, it's time for Shows You Should Know, the segment where I get to do my favorite thing in the world, tell you all about plays and musicals you might not have heard of but need to consume ASAP. And this episode's going to be a little different. Usually, I pick three different plays or musicals to talk about. Maybe one of them revolves around the person who I'm interviewing. And this week, I'm interviewing Michael Cotey of the Enough organization. And I was sent now it's officially published and out there, so you can go get it yourself. You can read it. But I was sent the actual, the full new volume 3, I believe. And there's 6 plays in there, and I read them and I love them all. So what I want to do is I want to break down each one of those 6 plays really quickly, because this volume 3 of Enough is available for producing, for reading, for purchasing through PlayScripts right now. And I want to tell you all about these 6 plays, all written by teenagers, all about gun violence or guns in some way and how they affect them and how they affect the world. Yeah? So let's get into it. A Call for Help by Pepper Fox. And this is going to go really quick because I have 6 instead of 3 to get through, so we're going to move real fast. So know that these are all wonderful plays, but I'm going to go quickly. A Call for Help by Pepper Fox. For 3 911 operators, an ordinary night at work explodes into a matter of life and death as they try to guide their callers to safety against increasingly desperate odds. So we follow Brian, Ronnie, and Bill throughout their day, and we get a really earnest and realistic look into gun violence and different tragedies, accidental or not, that occur with a gun in the home. There's a section of overlapping dialogue in this play that really shows the rising tension. Basically, we see these 3 911 operators talking normal as their lives go on, because this is just work to them, and then being interrupted and having to deal with these, not a bad way having to deal with, but having to drop in, I guess is a better way to put it, into these really scary, tough situations. And at the end of the play, there's this big section of overlapping dialogue where all 3 of them are on the phone with different people, trying to save lives, trying to keep people safe, trying to do all these things. And it's heartbreaking. It's beautiful. It's really, really wonderful. Pepper does a wonderful job of juxtaposing the ordinary, mundane work conversation opening the play before the first call comes in, and then how hardcore they have to turn on a dime with the situations that arise as being a 911 operator. It's really, really intense. And it's wonderful. Yeah, I love this play. Next one, No Prospering Weapons by Justin Cameron Washington. Hip-hop and theater collide in this poetic ballad of a play where the lines between victim and suspect, righteous and wicked, and good and evil are all blurred in the aftermath of a violent crime. This play is so poetic. It's so beautiful. The tension between up and coming and down and falling, those are the 2 characters, is intense from the beginning. There's something about the inspiration from rap and from poetry that really gives the show an element of truth, the painful relationship between the 2 characters. And the confusion and guilt and hurt from specifically down and falling is a wonderful thing to read. It's confusing. It hurts, but it's you're watching this relationship that we've never witnessed unfold from killer and killee to having a conversation after the fact, which you never get to see. You see the world react, but you never see those 2 people get to talking, because that's never going to happen. So it's a really beautiful and sad and tragic. It's really well worded. I mean, Justin Cameron Washington writes a prodigy of Paula Vogel, with that poetry the Sarah Roll kind of vibe. That poetic inflection in the text is wonderful. The final monologue of this play is one of my favorite monologues I've read in a while. It is so good. No Prospering Weapons by Justin Cameron Washington. Great one. Okay. Here's going to be a long one, guys. I'm sorry, but I have to get through all of them because I love them all. I'm not going to skip one. The Matter at Hand by Valentine Wolf. Okay. A school's administration staff contemplates ways to prevent future shootings, including extending School Kindness Week into School Kindness Month and giving the principal free reign over an Uzi. This play is wonderful. It's funny and serious in the depiction of conversations in schools about what is even possible to do when it comes to preventing school shootings. I also kind of read into the lack of communication between the teachers and the students, because it all comes from when this all stems from when Mr. Mendoza comes in bringing like slogan topics for this from the students for Kindness Week, like things that they want to talk about, and one of them is preventing school shootings. Wolf has a really wonderful way of finding the comedy in this situation. I think it's one of the funniest plays in these 6. They do an amazing job of like really finding the goofs and the playing with the satirical world. I don't know how to put it. Playing with the satire in this like really over, almost like in a, I'm trying to think of like a good playwright to compare them to. What's a good playwright that uses satire in this like really intense, almost like Pussy Sludge by Gracie Gardner, or Antipodes by Annie Baker. Those like incredibly satirical moments that are supposed to really rub you the wrong way. That's what the end of this play. Like, I'm not going to spoil it, but the final page of this play is going to ruin you and kind of make you laugh. It's going to make you feel things. That's the best way to put it. It's going to make you feel things. But yeah, it's absolutely The Matter at Hand by Valentine Wolf. It's a wonderful play. Read this one for sure. Okay, next one. A Disorderly House by Sam Lee Victor. As 2 parents pack up their child's dorm room, they come face to face with everything they thought they knew, and everything that is too late to know about their child, themselves, and each other. I don't want to say a lot about this one because it's like a slow burn reveal, but the slow burn reveal is dope. It's a simple 2-person scene. It's 2 parents dealing with a tragedy involving their child that had circumstances attached to it that they are kind of struggling to grapple with in their own way. It's like painful and beautiful. Oh my god, it's so tough. This play is so hard to read, but it's like so important. And it really is one of the ones that I don't want to give away too much because it's one of my favorite slow burn reveals. Sam Lee Victor does a great job with this piece. And also personally, I love a simple 2-person play that is just like 2 people in a room dealing with a situation. And that's exactly what this is. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, sad, tragic, heartbreaking play that has a really great slow burn reveal throughout about their kid and about the circumstances within the tragedy that's occurring. Yeah, boom, dude. A Disorderly House, Sam Lee Victor. Next one. Lightning Strikes by Amanda Fagan. Okay. You're more likely to be struck by lightning than experience a school shooting. Haley has never been struck by lightning, but she has survived a school shooting, and somehow she must keep on surviving. It's a 1-woman play. We watch a woman named Haley as she copes with surviving a school shooting. And the cool thing that I like what Amanda does with this is it's not just like someone monologuing to the audience for like one period of their life. We see her at 4 different ages, and you really get to watch her learn how to feel and understand what she went through. We get to like see how surviving something like this would affect a person, not just directly after or within a few years. You know, we don't see somebody be affected by this or be put through this traumatic circumstance and then like, how do they get through college or whatever? We see them like in their 40s. We see how this affects somebody in an ongoing state because that's what it does. Lightning Strikes by Amanda Fagan dives into something that I haven't seen dove into before, which is the lasting effects of being within a tragedy like this, like a school shooting. It was so interesting. I love a one-person play is really hard to write and keep it compelling, and Amanda does an amazing job with that. So yeah, Lightning Strikes, Amanda Fagan, an amazing. Also, there's great monologues in here if you're looking for a monologue. Finally, the last one we're going to talk about, The Smiles Behind by Niara C. Bell. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name, but a wonderful play. What if a single conversation could stop tragedy in its tracks? A young girl risks everything to put that to the test as she confronts the police officer attempting to chase down her beloved brother. So this conversation is the police officer and Lay. It's really hard to read. It's a conversation between a cop and Lay. It really shows a family member and like what they think and feel when their sibling has a run-in with the law. It dives into race and how that clouds many officers' eyes. And the playwright actually has a note on race for the casting of the officer, which I think is really interesting the way they put it. This is directly from the playwright. Note on casting Officer Jefferson. Violence inflicted on African American communities by the police is not restricted to any specific race of the police officer. The problem is the broken relationship between the police force and African Americans as a whole. In other words, Officer Jefferson can be white, but does not have to be. And perhaps if he isn't, you, your actors, and your audience will experience another layer of complexity and nuance in the story. That is such a mature thing to write. That's like such a beautiful way to put it. I love that Niara is diving into something and knows exactly what she wants to talk about and isn't afraid to make it really, really clear to people like what she wants out of this piece. And that there are things that she doesn't understand that she thinks that you can discover in your production that she didn't even look at while she was writing this. Or that she was looking at, but she's like, you can discover things that aren't directly in this text if you and your people have stories that make this officer, that make this cop something else. What is your relationship with the police in your community while you're doing this play? It's a beautiful play. It hurts so much to read, but it's so important. It's a wonderful story. Basically, all in all, this has been 10 minutes. It's probably the longest shows you should know, but it was really important because what I need to say is read the New Enough collection. Read all of them, but please read this collection. These 6 young playwrights are brilliant. They are doing wonderful things, and all 6 of these plays are wildly producible and important to produce. So, yeah, Enough Volume 3 now available. I think it's on PlayScripts, and go check it out.
Theater in a minute.
That's right, it's time for Theater in a Minute, where I explain something from theater past, present, or future as quickly as my brain lets me. Today's topic is the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. So KJ, let's get to it. Start the clock in 3, 2, 1. The Pulitzer Prize for Drama is one of the 7 Pulitzer Prizes that are annually awarded for letters, drama, and music. It's been recognizing excellence in the dramatic writing since 1917. Pulitzer Prizes were established by provisions in the will of Joseph Pulitzer, a Hungarian-American journalist and publisher who left money to Columbia University in New York City to establish the School for Journalism and to annually award outstanding achievements in journalism, literature, and music, okay? The Pulitzer Prize for Drama is awarded to a distinguished play by an American author, preferably original in its source and dealing with American life. The prize aims to honor works that represent the highest standards of theatrical excellence and have made a significant impact to the art form. Some of the notable wins are, Streetcar Named Desire, won in 1948, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, won in 1955, so Tennessee Williams doubled down. Arthur Miller also doubled down, 1949 for Death of a Salesman, 1953 for The Crucible. August Wilson also doubled down, Fences, 87, The Piano Lesson, 1990. Eugene O'Neill doubled down. Oh, sorry, I meant triple down. Oh, sorry, I meant freaking quadrupled down. Won 4 Pulitzers for Drama, Beyond the Horizon, 1920, Anna Christie, 1922, Strange Interlude, 1928, and Long Day's Journey into Night, 1957, awarded after he passed away. And then Lorraine Hansberry won for A Raisin in the Sun in 1959, the first play by an African-American woman to be produced on Broadway. Boom, dude. The Pulitzer Prize for Drama has evolved over the years, reflecting changes in American society and theater. It continues to be one of the most prestigious awards in the theatrical world, shining a spotlight on outstanding achievements in American drama. Doggo, let me talk about this for a freaking second, okay? I love the Pulitzer Prize for Drama. It's kind of like my Tony Awards. A lot of us nerds over on the theater TikTok side of things will make, we'll try to figure out who's going to get nominated. We'll do a lot of research and figure out what's going on. Some of my favorite Pulitzer winners of the last couple years: A Strange Loop by Michael R. Jackson. Also that year got nominated Heroes of the Fourth Turning by Will Arbery is one of my favorite plays. Fair View by Jackie Sybil's Jury. The Minutes by Tracy Letts, an amazing play. Oh my gosh. Sweat by Lynn Nottage is crazy. It's so good. Hamilton won. English by Sanaz Tuzi won last year. Fat Ham by James Imes won the year before that. And The Hot Wing King by Katori Hall won the year before that. But we can't go without it. Primary Trust by Ebony Booth won this year's Pulitzer. Out of nowhere. I am so excited about this play. It's in a lot of regional theater seasons. Actually, fun fact, my favorite regional theater in the country, Everyman Theater. I love them so much. I think I did a little segment on them on the show last season, but they are doing Primary Trust next season. Really, really dope. The 2 other shows that got nominated this season were Here There Are Blueberries. That's currently at New York. Actually, I think it closed by the time this episode airs, but it was at New York Theater Workshop. And then Public Obscenities, which I saw over at Woolly Mammoth. Oh my gosh, an amazing, amazing play. I've chatted with the playwright. Public Obscenities. It's one of my favorite plays. I was so excited to see that got nominated. But the Pulitzer Prize for Drama, for theater nerds, it is my favorite time of as big for me as the Tonys. I love it very, very much. It's exciting because as a playwright and as someone who loves playwrights and talks to playwrights, obviously you've seen with this season interviewing all these amazing names. It's really, really cool to see this huge, huge thing put up on a pedestal to give us the opportunity to like look at these playwrights as, I don't know, superstars. They're freaking awesome. And I'm so excited that we got to like put Ebony Booth up on a huge, huge level. I don't know. I'm really, really, I love Ebony Booth. I've read Primary Trust and it's amazing. I've read nonfiction and Crazy Annie and Paris. I've looked at all of her stuff and it's absolutely wonderful. So shout out Ebony Booth. Shout out Primary Trust. Pulitzer Prize for Drama. That's the freaking segment.
And now, an interview with Michael Cotey.
All right. For today's interview, I'm here with Michael Cotey, a Chicago-based director and theater maker who has worked across the Midwest at theaters like Nebraska Rep, Illinois Shakespeare Festival, Youngblood Theater, one of my favorite theaters, actually. And Cotey is also the founder and creator of Enough Plays to End Gun Violence, a project that calls on teens to confront gun violence by creating new works of theater. The project has sparked 3 published collections, as well as numerous nationwide readings and nights of theater across the country. Michael Cotey, I'm so glad to have you here. I love the collections. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's so great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, like, these collections of theater are so, so amazing. You're the founder and the creator of Enough. Let's start off just by telling the people, if they don't know what it is, what is Enough and what is like the mission of this project?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Enough Plays End Gun Violence calls on teen writers across the country to write short 10-minute plays that confront the issue of gun violence. What we end up doing is we select a handful of those plays. This last time it's been 6 to be produced by theater companies, schools, community organizations all across the country on the same evening. And
Mhm.
those evenings are meant to be opportunities for that community to engage on the issue, to talk about how gun violence impacts their community specifically, to partner with local nonprofits that are working on the issue,
Yeah.
and really have the conversation about gun violence and its impact on their own terms and
Yeah.
not in the immediate aftermath of a horrific event, which seems to be the only time we end up talking about this issue.
That's so true.
So it's been an amazing and kind of unprecedented way of providing a pipeline for teen writers
Mhm.
to get paid, published, and produced from their submission all the way through the volumes that PlayScripts ends up publishing.
That's amazing. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity. What made you like come up with this idea to like bring this opportunity to teenagers and how I feel like as a theater artist, it would have been so easy for you to say, "Oh, this is an idea I have. I'm going to create it." But it's I mean, it's one of the only projects I've ever seen of somebody you're really curating things written by the people that are most affected by this thing. What gave you that idea and kind of how did this project like start? Like where were the beginnings of it?
hmm I mean, Justin, you absolutely nailed it. So, the initial seed for this went back to Parkland.
Yeah.
So I was in rehearsal and the news of Parkland broke through. Someone had it on their phone. Everybody was pissed off. Nothing never changes in this country. It always gets worse. This is terrible. And then, like, we kept rehearsing the play.
Yeah.
And and I was an assistant director in this room,
Mhm.
so I had a lot of time to just sit and think. And I was like, this is how we always respond, isn't it? Like, these things happen, we have a big emotional reaction to it, we feel hopeless and helpless and angry, and then we just go back to
To work.
daily life. Yeah, we go
Yeah.
back to like the moment before,
Yeah.
right? And instead, these should be inciting incidents. These should be moments that change us to do something. So I sat there, I was like, okay, there has to be a theater response to this. I mean,
Mhm.
theater is so we always kind of gripe about how there's no money and it's hard to get audience, blah blah blah. But we're so resourced in the sense that we create community
Yeah.
and we have spaces and we talk about all sorts of issues through the lens of stories. We should be doing something on this. My initial thought was like, all right, I know what we do. We commission the biggest writers, Avengers level quality caliber
Playwrights.
team of writers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get them to write plays. And then we do it all across the country. I knew that was part of it. Like we need an act of solidarity. And I thought about it, some conversations about it, didn't really seem to go anywhere for some reason.
Mhm.
And I talked to a mentor of mine, Michael Rode, who is on our advisory council, and he's like, I see what you're trying to do, but that's kind of boring. He's like, those writers, they have platforms. If
Yeah.
they want to write about this issue, they can and they should.
Yeah.
But who is not having an opportunity to have their voice heard? And I sat with that feedback, and then I looked at what came out of Parkland. March for Our Lives, Students
Mhm.
Demand Action, all these young people making everybody pay attention and keeping the conversation alive and actually making progress. And I was like,
Mhm.
that is who needs to be at the center of this. So it took sort of almost a year-long process of me kind of like having it on the back burner.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, there were these two back-to-back mass shootings in Dayton and El Paso.
Yeah,
Like within
absolutely.
24 hours, like all these people got killed. Like in Dayton, it was like 40 seconds,
Yeah.
and all these people were killed. And I was like, you know what? I'm here. I have this idea. It's sitting in my Google Drive as like a document that only I've seen,
Yeah.
and it's no one else is going to do this right now. So it's I have the responsibility to get this out to as many people as I can. And then I spent that entire fall and the time before the pandemic really broke out, emailing every person I ever knew or could meet in theater. I mean, I found every theater in TCG and emailed every artistic director and
Yeah.
education head, um, and just called in every favor to try to make this work.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, you talk about an inciting incident, and that was actually a part of my next question, but you kinda hit it on the head as, like, a call to action to people, and it's so amazing to hear about your inciting incident and what was your call to action to create this piece. You talked about how these nights of theater can involve not just schools, but, like, it can involve creating a dialogue with anyone who's been affected by this situation. Talk about, like, the inciting incident that you talk about at one of the letters that you wrote at the top. I forget which volume, but at one of the tops of the volumes, you talk about an inciting incident, and you compare it to, like, the call to action within theater. What do you think is, like, the stipulation or the call to action of performances of this show? What do you think people can be striving for or doing when they take these plays that you've curated and you've helped bring up? What are things that people can be doing other than just giving someone a program and showing them play and then walking away?
Yeah. This has become more and more important with the project. I mean, I
Mhm.
certainly knew from in our first go around about it that these were opportunities for communities to have real impact. But
Absolutely.
as we've gone on, the communities have taught me so much about the potential of the project. So I'm going to tell just a really brief story. So
Please.
in 2020, we were really looking. We're trying to get every state. Every year, we're trying to get every state involved in the nationwide reading.
Yeah.
We've yet to hit 50, so it's still a goal of ours. And we were looking for a place in Indiana. And I got connected with South Bend Civic Theater,
Mhm.
signed on at the last moment, and they decided to partner up for the first time with an organization called Connect to Be the Change. Connect to Be the Change is founded by two mothers who had lost kids to gun violence.
Mhm.
Loria Perez is actually a mom who lost two kids to gun violence, and they work with youth in their community as change agents. So disrupting violence, being good role models, just trying to break that cycle of violence. And so they worked with Connect to Be the Change for the first time. This is a great excuse
Yeah.
or vehicle to do that. And
Absolutely.
they worked with their teens to be in the plays. And this is 2020, so it's the height of the pandemic. Everything's digital, and these they had this great experience. They had a digital conversation with the mayor afterwards of South Bend, and telling them these young people telling the mayor like, "Hey, you should be doing more." It's kind of
That's
awesome to see.
awesome.
So then, fast forward to our next nationwide reading. In the interim time, Loria is now the guest services manager at South Bend Civic Theater. So she's working for the theater.
That's so
Um,
awesome.
I know, it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And then Loria is directing the plays in the 2022 reading, and she's casting not actors, but survivors from her network that align with the stories of the plays. So she's
That's
bring
amazing.
yeah. And then 2023 comes around.
Mhm.
They've teamed up with schools, other nonprofits. They start the day with a community dinner where survivors and audience members have a meal together. Then they
That's
marched through South Bend and held a rally on the courthouse steps, and the mayor came. And then the end of the evening was the plays and
was the
presenting the
plays.
plays. And then this year, we're kind of in this off year in 2024. We're going to come back to the cycle in 2025.
Mhm.
But they're like, you know what? This is too important. We're gonna have our young people generate plays. We'll submit them later to enough, but we're gonna generate them in the community, and we're gonna do a reading of our kids' plays this year.
That's amazing.
So, like, this is the gold standard, right? Like, this is
Yeah.
like this is premium engagement, and
Yeah.
the kind of engagement every theater I think in the country wants to see on their projects. Um,
Absolutely.
but for me, it's an example of uh, people want to be talking about this issue. People want to be engaged in this issue. And when people come to experience these plays, the plays are so good and they're
Yeah.
so extraordinary and thought provoking that I've seen audiences being like, okay, what do I do now? What do you want me to do? Like, you've got you. I'm emotional. This is hit close to home because it's not just a statistic or a headline. I see my kid on stage doing these plays, and
Yeah.
now gun violence is not a distant issue for me. It's right here.
It's right here.
So these are priming events. These are
Yeah.
priming individuals, and I get I get the cynicism that I get sometimes on the project is like, well, are you really reaching the people you need to reach? Because like, are you really reaching people who are on the other side of the issue and are really hardlined about, nothing can infringe on gun rights,
Mhm.
right? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if those people are self-selecting to come to this event,
Yeah.
to be open-minded. But I think that's not the audience. I think the audience is people who care about this issue, who think
Mhm.
about it a lot, who would be pissed hearing about it in a rehearsal hall, looking at their phone, but that instead of just going about their daily business, we intervene and
You
give
actually
them
do you say it's been enough.
we say it's been enough and we encourage them to use this as a moment to take the path of action. Because
I love the story of how this was created because you really are giving a voice to the kids who are most affected by this and usually would be voiceless in this situation. As much as I would love to see a collection of plays written by my dream Mount Rushmore of playwrights written in a theme. That's awesome. It's so wonderful to read these, and I want to give a quick shout out to the six playwrights for it's either soon to be published or recently published. We're recording this episode a few months before release, so I'll let everyone know before and after when Volume 3 is officially getting published. But Nyara, Amanda, Pepper, Sam, Justin, and Valentine are the six playwrights for this upcoming volume, and they're absolutely wonderful. I got to read it beforehand, and it's amazing. I want to know like the decision to have teenagers submit and create these collections so you can not just jumpstart their playwriting careers and give them an opportunity to be published at such a young age, but also give them an opportunity to be heard on this issue that they have the most knowledge of and the most feelings towards, it feels like. What got you so excited about these 6 playwrights specifically this volume? And what do you look for when you are getting all these submissions for enough? Like what is the thing that really catches your eye when people are submitting and they're sending these plays?
yeah, I mean, I think one big thing I want to get across is that we keep the prompt pretty open. Like
Mhm.
it's, confronting the issue of gun violence.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to do, I have plenty of opinions about what should be done and solutions, but the last thing I want to do is impose those on any of
Mhm.
these writers because time and time again, over the 21 plays we've received over the 3 volumes, they've taught me so much about this issue
Yeah.
that I didn't really even consider. We also say, like, look, talking about the issue of gun violence does not mean you have to depict the incident of violence.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about when we're talking about gun violence? We're talking about people. We're talking about what came before, what comes after. We're talking about its intersection with all sorts of hosts of other issues. What these plays have really taught me is, you can look at gun violence as sort of um, it's like inflammation. It's like a signal that there is another underlying issue at play.
Yeah.
Whether we want to talk about uh, uh, mental health or racial inequality or
Mhm.
all sorts of other things, like there are other root problems that we're not dealing with, and gun
Absolutely.
violence is like the taken to the extreme. So when we look at the plays, and you talk about your Mount Rushmore, like that's, you know, when we bring together a selection committee, it really is like a Mount Rushmore
Yeah.
of playwrights like David Henry Wong and Lauren Gunderson, and we've had Terrell McCraney and Idris Goodwin and Karen Zacharias. I mean, these are like Sam Hunter. These
Yeah.
are like primo playwrights that are selecting this group, and but because they're so different, they're all coming at it with their own artistic sensibilities and taste.
Hmm.
So when we get together as a selection committee, I really do let them select which six plays we do, with the guidance that, like, look, we can't do six plays that are all about school shootings.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't do six plays that are just about mass shootings. We also can't do six plays that are just about the intersection between gun violence and Black Americans. Like, the goal here is that we pick six plays that are in conversation with each other,
Hmm.
so that if my high school that I grew up in South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, were to do the six plays, they are encountering stories that may seem familiar, and then they're encountering how gun violence impacts other communities,
Hmm.
and so you get this breadth of perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's, and then, just on a basic level, like, we don't care so much about like formatting and blah blah blah. Like, that's all stuff that we feel
Oh
like,
yeah.
playwrights can learn, young writers can learn. But we're looking like, does it grab you? Does it emotionally grab you? Is it compelling? Does it open up a perspective for you that you didn't have? I
Yeah.
mean, we haven't been there yet, but if someone were to write a play that was a a play that kind of went in the territory of, preserving gun rights and offered up a compelling counter argument that didn't undermine the idea that, like, look, we want to, I think we can all agree that there's too much gun violence.
Yeah.
But if we had that perspective, that would be really interesting. So we're looking for how these plays, provide something new and are really sparking conversation.
That's awesome. I mean, I feel like, and I want to end it. I want to end this interview by talking about the dialogue and the conversation that these do start. Like, I mean, a lot of our listener base on this show, the scene is educators and high school educators and college educators. And these plays are perfect and I think necessary for like a night of theater in schools all over the country, especially with now having 3 volumes and having so many options with these 21 published plays to like curate a really important special evening of theater. What is like the hopeful outcome of nights of theater across the country using these plays that you've curated to talk about gun violence? What is like your hopeful outcome with this whole project?
Wow, that's a big question,
I know.
Justin. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, like, the story I talk about with South Bend is a great example of, like, I couldn't have conceived of that.
Yeah.
So um, it is almost like, if you create this opportunity, I think what a lot of theater allows us to do is, like, we change the world one room at a time. And
Mhm.
sometimes, that doesn't feel like a whole lot, but if you get a lot of impassioned people in that room that can go out and then have influence in their communities, that's a big deal. And when we do these plays, we are making space to have a conversation in a transparent, open
Yeah.
way. It takes this issue that is so polarizing. It's so hard to just talk about it without it kind of going to one of the extremes. But we take it
Yeah.
and we say, hey, no, let's have this conversation, but let's talk about it through these plays. What was your experience through these plays? What are you thinking about now that you weren't thinking about 80, 90 minutes ago?
Because there are so
And
many plays that call for dialogue after, and like they start conversations after, but this really is a night of theater that begs for dialogue and conversation, not just as you're walking out of the theater, but to be a part of the event, to be a part of the night, and to like build on the creation of this piece.
well, and take that conversation that you have in the theater afterwards or on the car ride home and put it into a message to your legislature. Put it into action. I think that's the thing is like I want the plays to not, as lovely as it is to have the volumes from play scripts, I don't want them sitting on a shelf somewhere collecting dust.
Mhm.
I want them to be tools to engage in this issue in a different way. So whether it is through performance and whether it's through schools curating, the conversation they want to have,
Mhm.
or they're taking it into their classroom, they're using it as a way to talk about this issue, to talk about how plays are made or teaching. Like these things exist as tools in the world. All plays do, but these really are there and meant to be used. And if they don't result in action outside of that initial performance, that's I think that's ultimately where I hope every encounter with these plays goes, is that you're taking one small action, whether it's donating a little bit of money, calling a representative,
Yeah.
having a conversation with people who didn't come to see the play about what you saw and why it
Yeah.
moved you. All those things are really important.
That's amazing. I feel like I haven't ever read a piece or a book of theater that had called for conversation more than the enough volumes that I've gotten to read. And I think you should be so proud of this project. I cannot wait to see where it goes. I can't wait for the people listening to read volume 3, because really these 6 young playwrights are wonderful and their stuff is so awesome.
Thank you.
And Michael, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I love talking about this project. I'm so proud of these playwrights, and yeah, I hope we can move the needle in a positive way.
And that's our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. A huge thanks to Leah, to KJ, to Zach, the whole team over at The Scene. I could not do this without you. Thank you guys so much. A huge thanks to Michael Cotey and the team over at Enough. If you want to check out the newest volume of the Enough plays, go to Playscripts. You can check it out there. You can buy it. You can produce your own night of Enough theater, all that stuff, or go to their website, enoughplays.com. That's enoughplays.com. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can follow me on Instagram at Justin Borak. You can follow us on Instagram at thescene_news, and you can check out our website at thescenenews.com. And yeah, I'm going to end this episode the way I end every episode, by saying the 2 words that every faculty member at a school or college or whatever theater program doesn't want to hear, and every student will accidentally say, even if they're trying in their head not to say it. They get to the end of a scene and they take a long pause, they don't bow, and then they accidentally say, "And scene." Oh, shoot, you told me not to say that anymore. That's on me. That's my bad. Was it okay, though? Thank you guys so much. See you guys next time. Bye.